Shabbat Shalom, family. Glory and honor to our Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is. Glory and honor to Messiah, his only begotten Son, who is the atonement for the sins of his people, who is now operating as the high priest between the Father and his people, so that he can take sin off of his people and put righteousness upon them, and will soon be the king of this earth. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh and to Messiah, the obedient and faithful Son, the Hawashah. Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered into the four corners of the earth. Greetings to the 144,000 among them who are the forerunners of the return of Messiah. Greetings to the precious ones among the children of Shem, Ham, Japhet, who are not of the bloodline, but of the blood of Messiah, the line of the tribe of Judah. Greetings. Greetings to the chat, Brother Diamond Holdings, Isha Shaman, Brother Frankie, Brother Gary Joseph, Superstar, Brother Iman Prakash, Only One Way, Sister Castro, Sister Wade. Greetings to all of you. We have been studying out of this precious book, the prophecies of Revelation. We have been studying, and I admonish you, please start in Genesis. Don't skip anything. Read through the Revelation and don't skip anything. It could take you a year, it could take you 2 years. It's worth the read. The Father will guide you as you read through this book if you ask him. If you ask him for his spirit to guide you, you will be most blessed by the words of this book. He will guide you and direct your path. Particularly, this is true of everyone, but it's particularly true of those of the bloodline, as the Bible describes, the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You have been especially chosen to bear witness of the Father's perfect righteousness. You have been especially chosen by him to stand in this last age of earth's history of Babylon, before the age of the Messiah begins. The age of the Messiah, according to this book, is going to begin in just a few years from now. We're living in the time of the age of the Messiah to begin. So please read this book. The things about the book, first of all, the Bible is the book that teaches us about our history. Those of us who are the so-called Black people, it teaches us our history, the so-called former slaves that were enslaved all over the earth in chains through slave ships. It teaches us who we are. It teaches us our history, unlike anything else that has been written in the history of this earth. This Bible teaches you about your history. Also, it gives you lessons of righteousness. It teaches you what righteousness is. It teaches you what it looks like. It teaches you how to perform it by the power of the Father's Spirit. But most of all, above all of that, it teaches you and shows you what's about to happen. It has shown you and has shown the world what is about to happen through the ages past. And now here we are, and we're seeing where we are in the book, and it's showing us what's just ahead of us. This is what differentiates the Bible from any other book ever written on the planet Earth. It's the prophetic utterance that differentiates it from everything else. That is why there are so many different versions of it out here to confuse people. That is why there is millions of voices of false prophets all through the earth, because this book is extremely plain. It is written for Yah's chosen one, by Yah's chosen one. All of these prophets in this book are Hebrew Israelite prophets. And all of those people are teaching what we are right now and where we're about to go. So please read this book. Pray over it to your Heavenly Father. And please remember, I know it's difficult because we live in a carnal world, in a carnal age. But please remember, when you read the Bible, it is not a carnal exercise. In other words, it's not based on your academic intelligence. It is based on spirit. It is a supernaturally written book. Therefore, when you're reading it, you must understand it's more than just you reading pages, or if you can't read, listening to it on DVD or video. You can listen to it as well. They have the King James Version in audio form, but it's a spiritual exercise. Okay, it's a spiritual exercise. And remember that, because that's what the Father's going to cause you very shortly, to start remembering verses as you need them, remembering scriptures at times when you need them, remembering scriptures when he's calling you forth to give a testimony about him before the Gentiles and before the unbelievers. You're going to need the book. It has to be stored in your heart. David said, I will hide thy word in my heart that I might not sin against thee. And that's what we're doing. So please read the Bible. This is not about, and again, with the confusion out here that's been out here, of course, there's an attack from the enemy. So you have this book, and you think, many people, first thing when they look at this book, they're thinking religion. Generally, one of the three so-called Abrahamic religions, which Abraham had nothing to do with any of them. But the three so-called Abrahamic religions will come to mind when we first look at this book, especially Christianity. That's what comes to mind first. And none of those religions are actually in this book in terms of something that Yah's chosen ones should be practicing. None of them. But you wouldn't know that unless you read the book. But many people use the book like name dropping. That's what I call it, name dropping. If you were going to a concert, I don't know if you've ever been to a musical concert or not, but pick your favorite musician, whether it be a jazz, a rapper, R&B, or anything else, a rock. Let's say you were going to a concert and you ain't have tickets to get in, okay? You ain't have tickets to get in. So what you try to do is you try to get in the special door by dropping the name of the musician. Me and so-and-so are real good friends. We went to school together. He's expecting me. Me and so-and-so are tight. You should let me in. That's called name dropping. I'm so-and-so cousin. Yeah, me and so-and-so went to PS 145 together, blah, blah, blah. I ate at his house. He ate at my house. Me and his mom's is tight. He knows me. Tell him about me. That is name dropping. Or somebody trying to make themselves important. You know, I met Michael Jordan once. Or me and LeBron James, I had dinner at his house just the other night. So what's that? People are trying to name drop to make themselves sound important. Some people do that all the time, like a lot, to try to make themselves important. That's what people do with the Bible. See, they're name dropping. I read the Bible and they've never read it. Or I believe the whole Bible when they really only believe parts of the New Testament or parts of the Old Testament. By the way, when we talk about reading the Bible, we're not talking about having looked at a page in the book and say, I read it. That's not reading the Bible. It's funny how in every other book on planet Earth, any other book, you know, let's talk about a famous book, 1984 by George Orwell. That was a famous book. That's not the Bible, okay? So if somebody said, have you read 1984? If you just read one chapter, you can't say you've read 1984. Nobody would say that. If you say, have you read 1984? And somebody say, yeah, I read it. That means you assuming they know that you started at chapter 1 and you finished the last chapter and you read the whole book. That means you have read the book. If somebody say, have you read War and Peace? You said, man, no, I couldn't get through it. It was too thick. Somebody say, yo, I read the whole thing. It took me a number of years, but I read the whole thing. That means you read the book. You started in chapter 1. You finished at the end. You read War and Peace. Yet somehow people will just read parts of the New Testament or just say Genesis to Deuteronomy and say, I've read the Bible. I mean, and the scary thing is that you have a lot of people who are trying to be teachers of the Bible or pastors and have never read this book. And yet, just as hypocritical are people that have something negative to say or have an opinion about a book that they've never read. And yet, that's accepted practice in our modern age of Babylon. It's accepted practice that someone can say, I've read a book that I didn't read, or I don't think that book is true, having never read it. Hypocrisy is a standard practice in our world today. But with all that aside, I admonish you as one who have read it multiple times, please read this book. It's going to guide you into the near future of what's coming on the earth. It's like what's coming on this planet very shortly, as we're now studying the book of Revelation. What's coming on this planet? If you ever watched a sport, if you ever watched a football game, and a player is looking one way and he's not seeing another player coming at him with full force. And in football, it's called blindsided. He gets hit, and usually guys like that get hurt because they didn't see the other player coming at him. Or you're driving through an intersection and you got the light, but somebody runs coming from one of the sides. They run the light and they T-bone you. That's also called T-bone. It's also called blindsided. And people get killed every year from that because they weren't expecting that to come. They weren't expecting that hit, and it came hard. Well, the return of the Messiah is just so. People are going to get blindsided by not only the actual appearing of the Messiah, but the events leading up to it that they're not prepared for. Whereas Yah's chosen ones, having studied his book, having prayed to the Heavenly Father, the Messiah will reveal to us what the Father reveals to him. And we will not be surprised, because Messiah taught us. He said, behold, I've told you before. And now we're reading a book called The Revelation of the Messiah, Revelation of Jesus Christ, which the Father gave unto him for the purpose of showing unto his servants things that must shortly come to pass. It's not for everybody. That's the thing. This book is not for everybody. Its understanding is not for everybody. He said it. He said to show unto his servants. Not everybody that picks it up is a servant. Not everybody that's reading it is a servant. But the Bible teaches us who his servants are. First of all, his servants are the people that are related to the Messiah. Messiah's cousins and his brothers and sisters. That's the servants. Then from among them, a remnant. Those are the servants. And then those that are of the other bloodlines of the Gentiles and other than Jacob that have come to the nation's cause through the Messiah of the Father and have joined the faith. Joined the faith, not joined the denomination. They have joined the faith of the Messiah, which is the Father's perfect righteousness. Praise the Most High. So we're continuing our study in the book of Revelation, and we have actually studied 8 chapters. And we have studied 4 out of the 7 trumpets. 4 out of the 7 trumpets. Now, usually I usually start in other places of the Bible and then go back to where we're actually going to study tonight. But I want to do it opposite today because of the witnesses. We need to always try to have 2 or 3 witnesses for every doctrine. The Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Moses said it, Messiah said it, Paul said it, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Let every word be established. So we're going to begin in chapter 9 with the 5th trumpet. And if you recall, before we even go there, let me just ask you a question. First test question of the night, which I'm sure most of you are going to get real easy. In the Bible, when trumpets are being blown, what does it mean? And generally speaking, when the trumpets are being blown, who are the trumpets blown for? 2-part question. So in the Bible, when a trumpet is being blown, in the Bible, what is it? Why? Why are the trumpets being blown? And then the second question is, who is supposed to be hearing those trumpets? That's right. That's right, Amon Bakar. It's a warning And it's a warning given to the Israelites because the trumpet is being blown for the Israelites to hear. It's a warning to Israel. Now, and we done looked at 7 churches, 7 assemblies. We done looked at 7 seals of the book of life. And now we're looking at 7 trumpets, 7 warnings, time periods, all, but warnings in this one. Warnings about those who will be doomed. Because if you recall, let's take a look at that, what we already read in Revelation chapter 8. Let's take a look at that, Revelation chapter 8, where we already read Revelation chapter 8. And let's read from verse 3 down to verse 5. Revelation chapter 8 from 3 to 5. Actually, let me start from 2 to 5, because that's where the trumpets begin. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before Yahweh, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before Yahweh out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. So we can see that the incense is made for the prayers of the saints. But this angel took another handful of incense, put it in the censer, and instead of letting the incense go to the Father as prayers to the saints, he cast that incense to the earth. And then what you heard is the Father's voice. Those prayers were not being heard. They were rejected. So the 7 trumpets that are sounding are warning to rejected prayers, to people that are rejected. We saw in the first angel sounding, fire mingled with blood and cast on the earth, and third part of the trees burned up. Remember that? Hail and fire mingled with blood. That's the Father's voice of judgment upon the rejectors of the gospel message from the early rain. Then 2, a burnt mountain. We saw that in Jeremiah chapter 51. He said, I'm going to turn Babylon into a burnt mountain. And we saw that that was near the end of the Roman Emperor Empire. Then we saw in the third angel sounded, and there was a lamp, and there was wormwood. A star fell out of heaven and brought wormwood. And we saw that Deuteronomy taught us, as well as other places taught us, that the wormwood is a person that's speaking out of the imagination of their own heart and claiming to represent the Most High. Wormwood. And that was Constantine's time of what became the 4th trumpet. Revelation, we saw the 4th trumpet. Third part of the sun was smitten, third part of the moon, third part of the stars, third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for the third part of it. Darkness, spiritual darkness came when the Roman Holy Empire arose. And so we see, somebody actually said once, I forgot who it was, but it's a quotation that said, the dawn of the Holy Roman Empire, the Catholic Church, was the darkness, the sunset of the earth. Yes, that is true. Then the warning from the angel of 3 more woes that will come upon the planet Earth with 3 more trumpets. So here we are in the 5th trumpet. Now, the thing I love about the word of the Most High is that it uses, especially in book of Revelation, it uses the Hebrew prophets, mostly from the Old Testament, to teach you what's going on here. So that, again, you would have to have read the Old Testament prophets to understand a lot of what you're seeing. Otherwise, you won't get it. And this is the thing I tell people, and I'm telling all of you, because among you, brethren that are listening to me right now that I see in this room, there are going to be people that are going to teach the word of the Father. Okay? Some of you are being prepared. to teach this word, which is why I'm telling you, read your Bible. Some of you are being prepared to teach this word. The thing is, listen carefully. If you don't know something for sure from the Father's Spirit and the Word and the 2 or 3 witnesses, please do not guess. The Father don't have to work with guesses. Majority of people out here trying to teach the Bible have always come upon parts where they're guessing. And they'll argue with you about their guess. Do not guess. Just see, the thing about learning from the Father is to first understand you don't know. How could you learn except at first you don't know? And if you never admit you don't know, you'll never learn. Because all of us have things we don't know. As a matter of fact, when we come to the truth, the Bible said we have come out of darkness into the Father's marvelous light. So all of us that come to the truth are coming out of darkness. None of us knew before we was in the light. So we was all at one point in darkness, and all of us have been deceived. We were all blind. And the Father opened our eyes to see light, and there's more to learn. So when you're going to teach the word, make it a rule, never guess about something. Because all you're going to do is confuse yourself and the people that are listening to you. You must be a humble, that's right, you must be a humble student of the Father and of the Messiah and of their spirit. And I've seen too many people where I listen to people teach, and I try to garner some things out, even people sometimes that I don't believe know anything about what they're talking about. But I will listen sometimes if the Spirit bids me, because there might be something that they accidentally show me. And too many times I've seen people that really, for the most part, have no idea. But then when I admit, you know what, you're right about this thing, their ego comes, and all of a sudden they must be right about everything. And it's totally not true. Don't guess. Let the Father show you. You know, there was a time where I was learning the word, and I'm still learning the word, but many years ago, I would come upon the 7 trumpets, and I would start off like this. I don't really know what these 7 trumpets mean. And I would read them and I would say, I don't really understand. And I would say, like, this teacher says this, and this book says this, but I would say, I really don't know. And then as things started dawning on it to me, I would say, oh, I understand the first 3 trumpets. I don't understand the rest of it. And it was slow. Then I understood the first 4 trumpets. Oh, I don't understand the last 3. Then it started dawning. See? So the Father showed me all 7. But it definitely wasn't like when I first picked up and started doing Bible studies, I understood that. I didn't. Okay. And it took me years to learn not to guess myself, which is why I'm telling you, don't waste time. Because another thing that happens is this Asatan fools Bible teachers and into trying to express that every question that's asked him, they must know the answer. And if they don't, they're not a teacher. That's not true. Okay. A wise man will admit when he's short. The Bible says, confess your faults one to another. So if there's something you don't know, just say, I don't know that yet. Don't try to guess. And people, when you're teaching, if you've taught for a while, like I've taught the Bible for I think it might be 40 years, more than 40 years now. I've been teaching the Bible for a long time. Since I'd say 82, 83. But anyway, all of these years, having learned a lot of stuff, right? There were times where I would guess, and then I look back and say, man, I shouldn't have said nothing. Don't be like that. Just don't guess. Then I learned finally, after being spanked and humbled by the Father, just say you don't know. Much better that way. Just say you don't know. Because you know what? That's another thing. When you guess about something, Asatan's going to be right there to send somebody to challenge you. And you're going to look stupid. That's happened to me too. See, don't do that. Know what you're talking about, but don't say anything about it. It's okay. Okay. Devil try to set you up. Don't let him do it. Just say it's no problem with saying I don't know. No problem. That's actually good. Because then if you don't know, guess what you could do? Learn. Right? If you don't know, you can learn. Praise the Most High. If you say you know, then what's left to learn? Right? Praise the Most High. Yeah, so there's many of you here that are going to be teaching the word. Never guess. Just say you don't know. It's okay. Okay? And always, always, for every doctrine of belief, have 2 or 3 witnesses that support that doctrine and belief. And y'all know that one already. Because many people give doctrines and don't have 2 or 3 witnesses. Oh, they'll give 2, 3, 4 verses and they're not even related. I've seen that before too. They'll say, oh, this one and this verse, and you're wondering, how did these verses connect? Well, the reason is they don't connect. That happens a lot too. That used to happen to me a lot. Because I used to be sitting in the SDA church listening to people give Bible studies. And I thought it was just me. I said, man, I just don't understand how these 2 verses. And then years and years of reading the Bible study, I realized, wait a minute, these 2 verses have nothing to do with each other. They don't connect at all. It wasn't me. It was the teacher. See? So always have 2 or 3 witnesses that connect with what your main verse is. And then, you have a doctrine. And then if somebody stand up before you with 1 verse and telling you this is a doctrine, well, you already know the deal. You already know the story, right? Okay, we can move on from that, right? 2 or 3 witnesses, especially you're talking about the most important book ever given to mankind, is this King James Bible. Okay, that the Father is speaking. If I'm telling you the truth and the Father Yah, his spirit is speaking through this word, you definitely don't want to guess about it. You want to make sure you know, because the Father is also watching you to test you. Okay. And there's a lot of false prophets in the world, a lot of false teachers, majority, unfortunately. Okay. So be careful with this word. It's very precious, very important. Okay. And all of you who are going to end up teaching this word, listen, let's look at the situation. According to the prophecies, we're just a few years from the appearing of the Messiah. We're just a few years from the outpouring of the latter rain. We're just a few years from the complete sealing of the 144,000. Now, if that's all true, if what I just said is all true, and we studied all, then that means you are living in one of the most stupendous times in the history of planet Earth. That being the case, you must be extremely careful about how you handle the word of the Father. Very important. Okay, very important. All right. So let's start. I was going to start in Revelation chapter 9, but I'm going to start in Joel. And I would like you to please make note of the language Joel gives in the description of an attack coming on Yah's people. Watch. Let's look at Joel. I want to look at in fact, I did put the verses in the description box, but I want to read them. Joel, first chapter 1, because it's related. That's why I put it in the description box. It's related to what we're studying tonight. And this is one witness, with the scripture of chapter 9 of Revelation being the second witness. And then I got a third witness. We'll go through that when we get there. Okay, Joel chapter 1. Watch the description given in Joel chapter 1 of an attacking army. Okay, it's an attacking army in Joel chapter 1. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 7. Okay, so this is let's watch this, especially the description in verse 6, because you're going to see it in Revelation. Okay, so let's take a look. Joel chapter 1, I'm going to read from verse 1 to 7. The word of Yahweh that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel, Hear this, ye old men, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land. Hath this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell ye your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. That which the palmer worm hath left, hath the locust eaten. That which the locust hath left, hath the cankerworm eaten. And that which the cankerworm hath left, hath the caterpillar eaten. Awake, ye drunkards, and weep, and howl, all ye drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. Watch verse 6 now. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. He hath made my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare, and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white. So whatever this attack coming, right? Let's say you know nothing about who this is, but it's a strong nation, and you can see it says they're without number. Their teeth are like lions, so you get the idea they're ferocious and strong. You understand that? I'm not guessing when I say that. You see that, right? It's ferocious and strong. It's a lion. And it's not the line of Judah because it's attacking Judah, right? It's attacking Israel. So what is this that's coming like this? And then it destroys and lays waste his vine. Yeah? Okay. Let's go to Joel chapter 2. Watch this now, because you're going to see it in Revelation chapter 9. Okay, Joel chapter 2. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1. Watch the description again. I'm going to start at verse 1. I'm going to go down to verse 10. Okay? Start at verse 1. Go down to verse 10. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh. It is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so that they run. Like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoured the stubble, as strong people set in battle array, warlike people. Before their face, the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So the Father's allowing these people to come. He's calling them his army. You know, he always calls people that he uses to punish us his army. And he said, these people don't break ranks. They tough. They warlike. Okay. Remember that now. Now, later on, of course, we read where the early rain comes and the latter rain comes. There's two movements, an early rain movement and a latter rain movement. So that's going to come up later. Okay. But first, let's go back to Revelation chapter 9 now. Revelation chapter 9. And let's look at this fifth trumpet. Ready? Revelation chapter 9. You're going to see some very similar language here. Revelation chapter 9. And oh, by the way, let me warn you as well. We're going to have some numbers involved. So you might want to have a little calculator. There's going to be some numbers involved. just to let you know, I'm just giving you all the heads up. Going to be some numbers involved. All right. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Yahweh in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. In those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts are like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their head was, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were as faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates that were as it were, breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and they were stings in their tails. And power was to hurt men 5 months. Okay, so you saw the lions, you saw the chariots of horses, you saw the men of war, right? Like we saw in Job. Now, this one came out of the bottomless pit. First of all, in book of Revelation, anything come out of the bottomless pit is going to perdition. Matter of fact, let me show you that real quick. In Revelation chapter 17, in verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and shall go into perdition. Also, the bottomless pit means, it's like a place of you locked up. You're not going into the kingdom. Put it this way. Let's go Revelation chapter 20, verse 1 to 3. Revelation chapter 20, from verses 1 to 3. Notice again the mention of the bottomless pit. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. After that, he must be loosed a little season. The bottomless pit is, first of all, let me ask you a question. Are you ready? I'm going to give you another witness to these things. But what is the pit when you read the Old Testament prophets? What do they call the pit when you read the Old Testament prophets? That's right. Thank you, Yakoba Ben. It's the grave. The pit is the grave. It's death. That's right. It's death. It's the grave. That's correct. Now, bottomless means it doesn't have enough. Like there's no bottom to it. Like you can have as many dead people. There's no limit, right? There's no limit. Well, let's get some witnesses, right? First of all, let's get witness of Isaiah 14, which talks about Satan himself. And let's look and see what it mentions about the pit. Notice again, Revelation chapter 14, Revelation 14. I'm going to start at verse 12 and go down to verse 19. Revelation, let's go from verse 12 to verse 20. Isaiah, I said Revelation, I'm sorry. Isaiah chapter 14 from verse 12 to verse 20. Isaiah chapter 14 from verse 12 to verse 20. Notice what it says about a pit. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. that they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, and opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden underfoot. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. So you see, the pit is an indication of death. And of course, a bottomless pit is an indication of never enough, like it can never be completely satisfied, like it's always taking more prisoners. That is death. Let's see here. Proverbs chapter 30. Proverbs chapter 30. Yes, Castle King, it is. Proverbs chapter 30. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to start at verse 15 and read down to verse 16. Proverbs chapter 30. From verse 15 and 16, Proverbs chapter 30. Watch this. The horse leech hath two daughters, crying, give, give. There are three things that are never satisfied. Yea, four things say not, it is enough. What's the first one? The grave. The grave is never satisfied. It never says enough. Does that make sense here? So the bottomless pit is a grave, it's death. It represents death in the grave. And it never has, because it's bottomless, it never has enough. Does that make sense, y'all? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are y'all following that? Did we get 2 witnesses? Yeah. We got 3, including Revelation itself. Okay, so let's go back now to Revelation chapter 9. So we see an angel fall from heaven. Star fell from heaven. We know who that is. It's the same thing as the wormwood. There's no difference. The same as wormwood. Wormwood brought forth Christianity. This same star, which later we're going to see is Abaddon and Apollyon, he's bringing forth something that came after Christianity, right? Because Christianity came in the 3rd and the 4th trumpet. This came after Christianity. And it's the same star that fell that brought it. And he opened the bottomless pit. He opened the pit of death. And this came out of it. And it dark. Notice what it says about them. Verse 3. Actually, verse 2 of chapter 9. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Darkened, can't see. Whenever you see darkness, right? You know, it's spiritual death, spiritual darkness, right? Because we saw that under the 5th seal, under the 5th church that has a name that liveth and are dead, right? So you start to see this thing came from Satan, and it sent spiritual darkness, and it's warlike, and it tormented somebody for 5 months. Now, wait a minute. 5 months, prophetic time, talk to me. 5 months is how many years in prophetic time? 5 months is how many years in prophetic time? How many years is 5 months in prophetic time? That's right. Thank you, Yacoba Ben Israel. Y'all got that? Yacoba Ben Israel taught it. It's 150 years. 5 months, that's 30 days each month. Times 5 is 150 days. Each day for a year, 150 years. Well, there was 150 years period of time where something significant happened in history, right? Yeah, it's all right. That's okay. That's all right, Castle King. That's why we got Yacoba. That's why we got Gary Joseph. That's why we got Only One Way. We all here to help you, brother. So let's get back to the 150 years. 150-year period that happened after Christianity. First of all, it started in 1303. 1303, what happened? Islam was strong enough, because remember, Islam had been around from the 7th century. The 6th century came the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire, right? The 7th century, this is when Muhammad created Islam, okay? And now Islam had been around a while, and now it started to attack Rome. First thing it did is, now Rome at that time, Constantine had an empire. Here's another historical question for y'all. Constantine was the one that was in the transition between Emperor Rome and Holy Rome. What was the name of the empire that he was started? What was the name of the empire that he had? What was it called? It was a very strong empire. It was very big. It covered what is now Turkey as well as Europe. What empire was that? No, the Ottoman Empire was Islam. Beckman got it. The Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire had two capitals. One was Rome, and the other was in what's now called Turkey. It was called Constantinople. So you had Constantinople and you had Rome. Okay, there were two capital cities of the Byzantine Empire. There was Rome and there was Constantinople. Constantinople is now called, does anybody know what the modern name of the city of Constantinople is now called? Because it was a Christian empire, the Byzantine Empire. So what is now the modern, that's the country, but that's right. Your Copa knows stuff. Istanbul. Y'all heard of Istanbul, Turkey? That used to be called Constantinople. As a matter of fact, there was a pope. His name was Ratzinger. They called him Pope Benedict. I don't know if y'all remember him. He was like 20 years ago. His name was Ratzinger. And he was one of the first popes, or one of the few popes, that gave up the head of the pope without dying first. He gave it up while he was still alive, but they called him Benedict. His name was Ratzinger. He was a German pope, right? Now, Ratzinger was going to visit Turkey as a papal, visit. And what he said was, I'm going to visit Constantinople. And when he said that, the Muslim populace of Turkey said, you better not come here because we're going to kill you. Because what he said when he called it Constantinople, he was disrespecting Istanbul. He knew the name was called Istanbul, but he said, we're going to visit Constantinople. Subtle, right? But they caught it. Well, why was that a thing? Well, 1303, this war started between what they called then the Mohammedans and the Christians. And 150 years later, from 1303, takes you to 1453. Well, what happened in 1453? Constantinople fell to the Muslims. So the Muslims took it in 1453. It fell in 1453. So if you look up that year, major events of 1453 and 1303, you will see the beginning of the war between they call the Mohammedans and the Christians of Rome. And then you'll see 1453, Constantinople fell. And then after it fell and the Muslims took control of it, they changed the name to Istanbul. Okay, so that's when Turkey became a Muslim country. So that's why I say it should torment them 5 months or 150 years. And notice it said only the men that had not the seal in their foreheads. Notice it was a Roman Catholic Byzantine Empire. See? Multiple Roman that related to the many faces of the beast that was described. Oh, the beast. Oh, no. It's it's not multiple Roman empires. The multiple faces of the beast come from the various nations that made up what became the Roman Empire, which was Babylon. Notice it had the lion, Babylon. It had the bear, which was the Medes and the Persians. It had the leopard, which we know to be Greece, and then finally just the 10 horns, which we know to be Rome. So it was a combination of those various empires that came before Rome, all of which had put their hands on the Hebrews and was moving us out of our land. Okay, there were the 4 empires, but this is different. This is something that rose up after Christianity. And so this rose up after Christianity, and now verse, where are we at? Okay, now verse 11. Verse 11. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 11. See, notice it said also, let's go over again the other verse we read, because some interesting, now that we're getting an idea of what this is, there's some interesting things that came up. Notice what it said here. First, let's start at verse 2 again. I'm reading from verse 2 down to verse 10. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Yahweh in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not hurt them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment, that should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when it striketh a man. So it wasn't going to destroy Rome. It was going to attack it. It was going to temporarily look like it was going to beat it, but it wasn't going to destroy it, right? And it was going to fight it hard for 150 years, which is why you got Turkey. But since then, I think we all understand, Rome has come back, and now through the United States, its bully, it has taken back power, right? And so it has power now, which is why Ratzinger can boldly say, I'm going to Constantinople, because he know all the back he got. So locusts that sting like scorpions, and the sting is in their tails, right? Verse 10. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and their stings were in their tails. What does the Bible tell us about the tail? You ever see anything in the Bible talking about the tail? First of all, let's get 2 witnesses. One of them is in Revelation, and the other one is back in Isaiah again, as it were. Let's go back to Isaiah. Isaiah, I believe, is chapter 9, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah chapter 9. And I know y'all have read this, but when you read it now, you're going to say, oh, yeah, watch. Isaiah chapter 9. All right. Ready? Okay. Revelation chapter 9. Sorry. Isaiah chapter 9. I'm sorry. I keep saying it. Isaiah chapter 9. And I'm going to read verse 14 and 15. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 14 and 15. Isaiah chapter 9, 14 and 15. Therefore, Yahweh will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush. The ancient and honorable, he is the head. And the prophet that teaches lies, he is the tail. One more, verse 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. The ancient and honorable is the head. The prophet that teaches lies is the tail. These scorpions had power in their tails. Wait a minute. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation 12. And let's go Revelation chapter 12. Okay. Right. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3 and 4. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3 and 4. Revelation 12, 3 and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail, the dragon's tail, drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And if you didn't know who the dragon was, the same Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So the devil, who Messiah said is the father of lies, caused his tail, caused a third part of the stars of heaven to fall. And the Bible says the ancient and honorable, he is the head. The prophet that teaches lies, he is the tail. Does that make sense to y'all? We got all that so far? So Messiah said that the devil is the father of lies. The devil is the dragon. The dragon's tail to a third part of the stars of heaven. Then you see in the book of Isaiah, the ancient and honorable, he's the head. The prophet that teaches lies, he's the tail. Now we go back to Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. And we see Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. I got to look at that, Brandon Beckman. I didn't see that. That Deuteronomy 28:13. Okay, we'll look at that. Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. Okay, let's see here. Okay, verse 10. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was given to hurt men 5 months. So they had stings in their tails. Not only is it a lie, it's a stinging lie. It's an annoyance. It's an irritant. It brings pain, right? That's, you know what that's called also in there's a term that we use. I'm looking up, what is it? 28:13, Brandon. I'm gonna look it up. So what we're talking about is, let me ask y'all, have you, maybe you fell into this while you was in Christianity, or if you just first awakened, you might have fallen into this because a lot of Hebrew Israelites do. Have you ever heard of this term? Have you ever heard of this? Righteousness by works. You ever heard of that? Righteousness by works. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah, it's true. So when you try to live by righteousness by works, what it means is you are just claiming you have the power to do good and righteousness without the Father's Spirit. That you don't need grace, you don't need mercy. I've actually heard people say, "I'm no saved by grace no more. I know what I need to do, and I do it." I've heard people say that. That's righteousness by works. And if you ever lived that way, and I have, it's a very frustrating experience. It's spiritually dead, and it's frustrating. It's annoying to others. That's what it is. It looks like you're doing everything by your own power and discipline, right? That's righteousness by works. And that's the same thing as that tail. It's annoying. Let me look at what Brandon Rick said here. Okay, Yahweh shall make thee the head. Oh, I see, and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only and not beneath. Ancient and honorable, that is the head. Thou shalt be the head, not the tail. But of course, later on, Brother Brandon, what did we become? We became the tail. Look at that. So it all fits, doesn't it? Praise the Most High. We became the tail. So now you see the 150 years. So now what are we talking about? We're talking about the rising up of Islam, but it would only be temporary. in terms of its dominance of Rome. And that's why, let's go to another witness, Daniel chapter 11. See, you had to read your Bible. You got to read these prophets. Otherwise, you're not going to get none of this. But when you read Daniel 11 and you see that there's a king of the north and there's a king of the south. And notice what it says about we know the king of the north is Rome. The king of the south, I submitted to y'all when we read it, was Islam. And why did I say that? Notice what it says in Revelation chapter 11, beginning at verse 40, from verse 40 to verse 45. Understanding that the king of the north is Rome. It is the Catholic Church. It is the papacy. And south is Islam. Okay, so notice what it says. And at the time of the end, that's what we're talking about in Revelation, the time of the end. But at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, with many ships, and shall enter into the countries and shall overthrow and pass over. Did not that happen to Muslim countries? Did they not get attacked? Did they not get overthrown? Did they not have warlike armies coming? And all those armies are representing Christianity. Okay. And Christianity is representing Rome. And he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape out of his hand, Edom, and we know who that is, and Moab, and chief of the children of Ammon. There's countries that are with the state of Israel, along with the state of Israel itself, right? Okay, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver and over all precious things of Egypt. And in other words, he shall take the assets, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, that is Rome. He shall hear tidings, message that represent the east and the north. Who is that? Who is that? With messages coming out of the east and the north. Who is that? And it's going to make him go forth with great fury to try to destroy, utterly make away many. What is that? That causes him to feel, the king of the north, to feel great fury. That's right. Well, who's bringing these? It says tidings, right? That's a message. There you go. Superstar. 144,000 bringing the message, yes, of Father and Messiah. It shall make him go forth with great fury to destroy and to utterly make away many. They're going to want to kill us. That's right. The two witnesses, they're going to destroy. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. United States, no, it's Israel with Edom. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. There you go. So now you can see, and I can see, is where Islam's role is. They would attack Rome. They came from the same power that brought forth Rome, because Islam was supposed to help the object of Rome allowing the development of Islam was for Islam to help them gain a foothold in the Middle East. That's what they were trying to do. But Islam was like the experiment in the lab that blew up and it went crazy and the germs spread and they couldn't do nothing about it. And that's what happened. It came at them. See, the same devil created that brought forth the wormwood. Same devil, but this one kind of went crazy. He kind of lost control of this one. Okay. Revelation chapter 9. Let's finish this part. We're going to do 6 tomorrow, because 6 is a whole different thing. Okay. We're going to do 6 tomorrow. But you got an idea when we did the 6th church and the 6th seal, right? You kind of know what's going on there. So we're going to talk about the trumpets for the 6th. But let's finish 5 first. Revelation chapter 9, going to begin at verse 10 and go down to verse 12. Revelation chapter 9 from verse 10 to 12. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, and the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. Yes, there you go. There you go. Well, brethren, that was the fifth trumpet. Took me a long time to get where even a little bit I know about it now. It took me a long time, man, many years of studying, but I'm hoping that it blesses you, that the studies that I have done and learned from this has helped you understand, because now I'm passing the baton to you. So you pray to the Father and see where he's going to carry it with you. Praise the Most High. By the grace of the Most High, we'll be back tomorrow again at 10 a.m., 10:15. Y'all know we're going to do a little earlier. And then I got time to see my daddy and some other stuff. So it's cool. And so I'm going to do that tomorrow about 10:15. We'll start the 6th. The 6th, brethren, is going to take 2 studies, because, you know, you got a lot. Just like you did when if you notice, the 6th seal went from chapter 6 all the way to the end of chapter 7 and chapter 8. Well, the 6th trumpet is like that. It's long. It's a lot in there, a lot going on. Because as you know, this is where the 144,000 start to come forth, right? So you're going to see that. And then, of course, Philadelphia also had a lot to say. And so this is the trumpet for that area. So we're going to talk about that. Okay? We're going to talk about that. In the meantime, may the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, family.